Thank you very much for joining us in our first story. Police in the eastern region have confirmed the death of 2 illegal miners shot in swoop to clamp down corporates in eastern region. 14 others are also in the grips of the police for screening and further investigations. In a very chaotic incident yesterday, Joy News' Latif Idris risked his life to record the volatile situation with his phone in the eastern region town of Asamama in the Echima district. Police rushed on the illegal miners in the bush and pursued them to town to track them down. Here's the footage as recorded by his phone.
Right now, we can hear in the background sounds of gunshots by the police and the military who are currently undertaking an operation here in Asamama in the eastern region where we've had illegal mining activity taking place over the years. As you can hear, that is the sound of gunshots fired by the police. And we have the young men who are trying to counter the activities of the police here. I have one such gentleman here with me, and he's going to tell us exactly what he makes of the situation. And now it's getting chaos. We have to run for our lives now. But we have to stand here. So I want you to tell us exactly what is going on here.
Right now, we are paying 50 million one each boat. 50 million. But right now, we still no work. How come? We have to do what? Right now, somebody of our armed robbers are still over there. But right now, big man, it's okay.
Oh, yeah, catch you, man. Catch you. I'm sorry, can I explain to properly? So, yeah, what's wrong with saying?
Both we are 50 million. 50 million. Obey the man here. Yeah, yes, wow. Almost say the money here. I can't go there. And I'm going to go.
See, I'm machines. I have a machine.
I'm machines. No, it's the company. Aha. So that's the all.
All right. Thank you. So the police and the military have finally managed to disperse the angry residents. The one is done. Charlie. I'm shooting. I'm also pulling them out. Charlie.
The police station there. Record. The police station there. We got spot here. We will be well. We will be well.
So right now, this is one of the dead bodies being carried away from the mine site. He was shot by
police to a trophy.
Hey, go Mama, come and talk. Talk with this. And you can see blood all over his body. You can see blood all over his body. One of those who was shot. And now the dead body will now be taken. By the police here in the mining town of Asamama in the eastern region. And there you have it, the whole town of Asamama.
This is the dead body. This is the dead body.
Agor. So the dead body of Agor is now being carried. So Asamama is on lockdown right now. People are wailing and crying. Multiple shots. There you have it. The young man, blood oozing all over. And there you have it. That is the atmosphere here in the mining community of Asamama. So this young man just suffered this stray bullets hitting him, and he's one of the young men in this Asamama township of the eastern region. And the situation here is very chaotic, and we can still hear sounds of gunshots in the background, and the operation of the police is still underway. Roadblocks throughout. Wherever you pass, there are roadblocks all over the place. This is one such roadblocks mounted by the residents of this community, who are now in a very fierce battle with the police and the military who are undertaking an operation here at the Samama.
Robbers. I'm here, Jumano. Yes, that's abortion. That's me.
Who says what the police is doing today is taking away their source of livelihood in this community, and so they are now going to turn into armed robbery.
Yes.
According to him, that is now the only way to survive. And there you have it. The town folks are yet again mounting another roadblock here, trying to impede the movement of the police.
Mahama, we are calling you.
Why am I there?
Answer our president. We are calling you to fight for us.
All right, yet another.
I pay a lot of money when I brought my goods over here.
Right now, I don't have enough money.
Do you know how much money I pay?
In my pocket.
I don't share.
Unless I go,
You don't know.
hard work.
The market women are also parking their goods to vacate the market because they can't stand the warning shot being fired by the police. And there you have it. Everybody is running here. Everybody is running. Asamama is now going to turn a ghost town because of the... And the police are marching on. In the background you can see them. And everybody is running in this community.
Quite chaotic and deadly situation there. And of course, Latif Idris was not spared his share of what happened yesterday as well, and for that reason he is unable to join us in the studio now. But I have on the phone lines with me ASP Yawin Ketiayabwa. He speaks for the police in the Eastern region. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my sister.
Has the police been able to calm tensions down now as of today?
So far, so good. And also, more importantly, those who were wounded on both sides, all are okay. So and also those who are arrested, everybody, 22 of them were arrested, 22 of the Galamsey. In fact, I must emphasize that they are not langars, they are illegal miners, which in our local parlance we call Galamsey operators, who attacked police in Asamama during the violent confrontation. Later on, it brought to our notice that 2 of them were dead, 8 of them wounded, 2 police officers also seriously wounded, and the Kibi in the scene hospital initially treated them, and some of them were referred to the Eastern Regional Police Hospital, Eastern Regional Hospital. Those who were referred there were one of the illegal miners. He received a gunshot wound on the left leg. Then a police officer who was knocked unconscious by the illegal miners. But now all of them have recovered and they are recuperating.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Also, the illegal miners, after blocking the road, smashed the windscreen of Toyota air-conditioned Toyota bus that Resec hired for the police for the operation. As I'm talking to you now, the 22 who were arrested have been transferred to the Eastern Regional Police Command to help in investigation. All that boils down to the fact that police were directed to prevent them from manning with them.
Hello, ASP Nketiayabwa. All right, so we've lost him on the line there, but he was telling us about how many people have been arrested he talks about 22 of them, and those 22 have been transferred to the Regional Police Command for further investigations to be done. He also talked about the fact that these illegal miners also destroyed some property of the police as well. He talked about destroying the windscreen of some vehicles belonging to the police, and it talked about also confirmed the fact that 2 of the illegal miners have died, and indeed also giving us details of what's happening this morning. We have him back on the line. Hello, Mr. Nketiah.
Hello.
Great. And
I nearly went off. I thought we had finished.
No, sir. I want to ask one more. So where these illegal miners were, are you saying that you've completely taken them out of the place and you're guarding the place to prevent them from going back?
Come again. I didn't get you well.
Yes, I'm asking where the illegal miners were operating. What's happening? Have you eventually taken them out of the place?
Thank you. I said it earlier. In the Green Basin, you see, anytime you hear something, it means those miners are mining in the river directly with their mercury, all the chemicals, all the mining processes, everything is done in the river, irrespective of the fact that consequently they pollute, they poison, they contaminate the river for those who use the river for consumption. So that is what police went there to prevent them from doing. In using Shenzhen, which is a Chinese man equipment, a lot of them understand they've brought to the Samama portion of the Brim River to mine in the river. And this is they don't understand them.
All right, we'll end here. That was ASP Yao Nketiah Yeboah. He speaks for the police in the Eastern region, and of course, we'll talk more as to what the police would do to ensure that the illegal miners do not go back, because this is not the first time this is happening. But the issue here is how the country's water bodies are being polluted all over the place. The perennial water shortage, often brought on by drought, is almost here. In times such as this, it is some of these water bodies that become the option for some communities, especially in the interior part of the country. Beyond being used for domestic purposes, it also a source of livelihood for fishermen. A typical case in point is the depletion of the fish stock at Anlong fishing community in the Western region. Fishermen here are being the hardest hit from the effect of illegal mining. My colleague Justice Bader reports.
The Pra River, one of Ghana's largest water bodies, meandering through lush cocoa farms across 4 of the country's regions. On its banks, illegal miners, locally known as Galamsey, are hard at work.
All along the course of the Pra, hundreds of machines like these in the background work day and night digging for gold from underneath the water. None of the boys I've met here would agree to speak with me on camera, but in private, they tell me the work they do here is a choice between life and death. They run into the hundreds, but the real people who pay the price for the havoc they cause are in the thousands, possibly millions.
And the people bearing this brunt are not far away. Just a few kilometers downstream, I've come to see some of them in Anlo Beach, a small fishing town in the Western region. To see what impact Galamsey mines have on lives here, I've spent more than 5 hours watching 33-year-old Komla casting his fishing nets. He's been fishing in the Pra River for more than 10 years. For him, he says, times have never been this tough.
When I
1
was 12 years old, I was 12 years old. 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 I was
We used to get a lot of fish. Now, if we cast the net, we only get rubbish. Even today, I cast a net and got nothing. Life is getting tough. After 5 hours of waiting to bring out the net, this small fingerling is all we get. Instead, there's a lot of waste in the net.
During the washing of the gold into the river, the mercury, which is used in refining some of the gold, has destroyed the water, not only the mud, because the mercury getting into the water increases the high turbidity. So the chemicals kills the germs, or maybe let's say the fish species in the water. And the estuary or the river serves as the breeding habitat for most of the pregnant fishes. They come and they lay their eggs here. So if there is high increase in the chemical, it destroys some of these eggs that are being laid down.
The mud from the Galamsey makes it difficult for the fishes to lay eggs. The fingerlings can't grow. Now people are also cutting the trees from the river, and that is making things worse. More than 5,000 people live in Anlo Beach. 90% of them depend on the river for a living. They are not alone. There are hundreds of such vulnerable communities nationwide now reeling under the horrors of Galamsey. Government's response has been more lip service and very little action. As Ghana head to the polls, many voters, including those at risk of environmental hazards like Galamsey, will be waiting to see how those seeking to lead plan to address this menace. Justice Beidou, Joy News, Anlo Beach in the Western region.
And of course, we'll get back to our reporter, Justice Beidou, to give us the latest on the ground from Anglo, as he reported in the earlier. But right here in the studio, I have with me Dr. Rollins Abrahams. He is the Chief Programs Officer of the Water Basin and the Water Resources Commission, and he joins me live in the studio. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Great. I'm sure these reports are not new to you. What would you say? You've been doing some work directly in this area as well. Tell us how your work, first of all, has impacted saving our water bodies.
Well, I think all over the country, we are all aware of what is going on as far as mining is concerned, and then how much mining activities have destroyed water bodies. We can't continue like that, and we shouldn't continue these processes with impunity until such a time that we'll draw the security agencies into action where we find people dying and yet people are still bent on doing the wrong thing. We should be more responsible. You know, environmental management, which actually encompasses the management of water resources, also is an individual responsibility. We need to be more responsible. If you do your mining and at the end of the day, fishers are not able to do their work, the Ghana Water Company is not able to treat water, and then we have aquatic life. You know, apart from whatever we think we derive from the aquatic environment, the species of organisms, plants and animals alike in the water are for research purposes. A lot of students are depending on the water bodies to get trained and join the water sector or the environment sector. So we should be more responsible. We shouldn't just look for money and livelihood. That is not the only option. We can find innovative ways of living, and then we protect our environment and we protect water bodies.
Dr. Abrahams, you are talking about what everybody should be doing to ensure that we save our water bodies.
Yes.
But your agency is also responsible for ensuring that our water bodies are safe.
Yes.
So what have you been doing to ensure that this happens?
Well, it will interest you to know that the Natural Resources Commissions, such as the Minerals Commission, the Water Resources Commission, the Lands Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the rest of it, are meant to deal with, you know, a few number of cases where people are not trying to understand. If we have large or significant sections of our population into those things, it becomes a national issue, it becomes a disaster, and it's simply beyond the capabilities of any one organization such as the Water Resources Commission to cope with. If you get to wager at the moment, we have tried to control pollution and encroachment to some extent, but what is happening now is we are now compelled to have a joint military police security posts just to ensure that people are disciplined and don't get into the water areas and then do what they like, and at the end of the day we have polluted water and we have to spend a lot more money to treat the water, and then sometimes we are rendered in a situation where we can't treat water at all for people. Water has no substitutes. So the agencies are doing a lot. EPA is doing its bit. Water Resources Commission, we are doing our bit. We have had instances where we have to hire military police to do some of the things that are, or to treat some of the cases. We don't handle weapons. And for instance, I can't give warning shots. So when things go on to some extent, the only thing is to bring in the police. There are instances where you go to even a community to carry out awareness, creation, education, and you have to go with an armed police officer because circumstances there are not good. People are not cooperating, and they are ready even to attack you over, speaking peace and talking understanding for people to change their ways of doing things. So we have a Herculean task. We are hard pressed, and the only option is to sometimes bring in the security forces. It's not the best to see people getting wounded and killed and then this rush, but somehow we are not being responsible enough to really help the natural resources commissions or the agencies set to actually take care of natural resources to do their work.
I'll come back to you, Dr. Abrahams. Well, I want to go back to our reporter now, but we do know that the effect of illegal mining is enormous. Sometimes those engaged in the practices risk their lives and even die in the event, leaving their families with a bleak future. Justice Bedu, again, has been doing something in that regard from the Upper West region. He joins me via Skype with more. Justice, apart from losing their lives in the process, how does land and resources suffer from Galamsey in the Upper East region?
Well, Beatrice, thank you very much. But I think the bigger issue that we should really be raising is that Galamsey and illegal mining has now taken a national outlook, which means that we would ordinarily not think of a region like the Upper East region as an area where Galamsey activities would happen. But I'm telling you that I have worked in places like the Galamsey Clampdown districts in the Upper East region, where young children as young as 7 are now actively engaged in Galamsey activities. And in regions like the Upper East region, which are already very poor and vulnerable regions where people largely depend on land for farming and agricultural activities as a way of survival, Galamsey activities are now taking over these lands. And so what it means then is that it's not just people who are dying as a result of mine pits that are caving in and all of that, but we are cutting down the trees. People are cutting down the trees actively. People are digging land which a couple of years back were farmlands that small-scale farmers were living on. And so I think that those are the other dimensions from other parts of the country. And these are really serious issues that I think that moving on, and especially in this election, we need as a people to demand from the politicians who are seeking to lead that Galamsey has been with us for God knows how long. And yet, all that we have had is a lot of lip service, actually a lot of lip service, and very little action in terms of cracking the whip. It will interest you to know, Beatrice, that in many of the places where I've been across the country, you would see the people who are supposed to take action in terms of addressing the issue, like politicians, like society leaders, like opinion leaders, like chiefs, actively being the ones who are sponsoring some of these activities, and we are not talking about them. And those are the real issues, Beatrice.
But Justice, beyond the politicians you talk about, that's why we had the security agencies. Dr. Abrahams in our studio here has spoken of how difficult it is for his office to do their work. But from the places you've been to, how are the security agencies dealing with this issue?
I think it is a mix of the security agencies themselves having the wish, if you like, to combat the activities. But the truth is that Galamsey itself is so widespread that in some instances I feel our agencies are overwhelmed by how deep it runs in the society, because this is something that people are benefiting from. I think that the issue is that the regulations are not there, so that nobody can say that people should not mine, but we haven't as a country been able to follow the regulations that we have set up for ourselves to the latter, in a way that we are able to find who is doing what at what place, so that then we are able to regulate it in a way that it doesn't affect the natural resources that we have, like the water bodies, the farmlands, the vegetation cover, and all of that. There are also even issues of foreigners. And in this instance, I won't hesitate to say that Chinese people who are taking over small-scale mine lands, which by law are supposed to be for Ghanaians.
Thank you very much. Justice Beidu ended here, and he's been reporting on the situation of Galamsey in the Upper East region. I still have with me in the studio Dr. Roland Abrahams. He's the Chief Programs Officer of the Volta Basin at the Water Resources Commission. And Doc, I'm sure you heard him, and you also saw the visuals earlier. And in this conversation that we just had in this interview, you were telling us about how difficult it is to deal with this particular situation. But beyond the attitude that you touched briefly on, what could be done generally to deal with this situation?
We need to try as much as possible to change the way we do things. We should be willing to keep our nation as, good as we could, because sometimes when we get opportunities to travel, we saw how people really want to comply with rules and regulations. And like the gentleman is saying, Galamsey is widespread all over the country, in regions that you will never think people should be interested or are doing mining. You will find mining going on there, and the very people who should be more responsible are deeply involved. Chiefs are involved, so where is the order? So what we want to actually emphasize is that if we cooperate with ourselves, it's cooperation, and it actually has some strong links with attitude. You have been told clearly that you don't do mining in river channels or on river beds. You don't do mining there. Just listen to it. In the interest of your country, you just don't go there and do mining. And when you are, for example, it's very unpleasant to see the kind of things going on where you see wounds on the heads of people. We are killing ourselves. It looks much more like self-destruction.
But Dr. Abrahams, you would admit that these are people who have no jobs. What options have been left for them, because this seems to be their source of livelihood?
That is why I said earlier on that we need to find innovative ways of living.
Which is?
You see, we have various businesses. We are not saying mining is wrong. Mining is good. But if we want to do mining, small scale, medium scale, or large scale, we have all the opportunities to register.
But your work is so, and people who are involved tell you how cumbersome the processes are. When
we register, as a mining company, why won't we do the right thing? If it's 100 meters you have to leave, as a distance between where you are operating and the water mark, just leave it. Do it where you have to do it so that nothing affects the water system. But in a situation where we find it more convenient to enter the river system or the water channel itself and begin to dig, and incidentally you find clay which can get into solution. They are colloidal particles, they remain in solution for a very long time, and you deprive very poor people who do not have opportunities anywhere to obtain water. They depend heavily on the water systems. It's very pathetic because we have sampled water in areas where no activity is going on and have come to a lab in Wager to compare it to what is the quality with treated water, and it's the same. So it means if you are in the hinterland and you are in a place where your water body is not affected by anything, you can drink your water and there's no problem.
Dr. Abrahams, one of the main complaints from these illegal miners has been, you talked about the need to join the regularized, mining activities. But one of the main complaints has been that the processes of even registering to get to that extent are very cumbersome. And so how is your commission, for instance, the Water Resources Commission, helping in making sure this is done? It's a bit easy for them so that it doesn't become difficult.
Well, we are doing our best to ensure that the processes are okay, and then the processes are that if you want to do mining in an area, you have to obtain environmental permit. You have to, and before you get the permit, there is a point within the process where you have to consult with the community to see nobody has any problem with what you want to do. And sometimes there are issues where people are saying, you can't mine here because this is where I'm doing my farming, this is where I'm doing my fishing. And when we look at all of these things, we have to really probe the process properly before we do it. So in actual fact, within 90 days, you can get it. And within some 30 days, you can also get it, depending on what happens. But sometimes people come and they don't have environmental permits.
Thank you very much,
so
Dr.
you have to
Roland.
hold on. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roland Abrahams, and he's the Chief Programs Officer of the Volta Basin at the Water Resources Commission. And you're still here on News Desk on Joy News on Multi TV. Thank you for joining us. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back to News Desk on Joy News on Multi TV. The Inspector General of Police, John Kudalo, says he admits his men failed to do their work according to standards during last Sunday's clash between the security detail of the opposition New Patriotic Party and supporters of the governing National Democratic Congress. There are conflicting reports as regards which of the groups started the attacks on their opponents at the residence of the MPP flag bearer, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. But in his first ever comment on the matter in an exclusive interview, Mr. Kudalo says President John Mahama was right when he said his men failed.
The Inspector General of Police of this republic, I know I'm very much in charge. I don't know whether it's by plan or design, but all these distractions and all this name calling, I don't take them as anything at all. In this position, I will have to, these are the nuances. But unfortunately for us, those of us at this side, we can't talk. But we must remember that we are also human. But we as a police force will remain focused. We shall not be distracted. Try to ensure that we go according to our mandate and deliver Ghana a very successful elections. As at now, that's our main duty. And no distraction will let us go off course.
And sir, I know you have said that the Sunday event is still being investigated, but just recently the president commented on it and said that your men did not meet up to standard in terms of responding proactively to whatever happened on Sunday. What have you got to say on that?
Oh, I'll say that the president's analysis and statements are correct because we sent him the report. I came and did the report start through the night to about 5 a.m. and made sure that a report was sent to say, looking at the nature of the issue for him to be able to comment on it. So what he said was objective report that was based on facts and analysis from the IGP's office.
But so far, what have you got on that?
I think it's okay, I'll not go further.
Now, the funeral for the late Progressive People's Party parliamentary candidate for Klote Korle constituency, Eva Loko, will be held today at the State House, Accra. She died in October after a short illness. Ms. Loko was a former running mate of the PPP in the 2012 elections. However, she decided to contest the Klote-Korle constituency, an action which was cut short by her sudden death. She was an engineer by profession and was the first female Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My colleague Joseph Akable is currently at the forecourt of the State House. He joins us live on the line. Joseph, how far are proceedings so far?
A pretty solemn event taking place here at the forecourt of the State House. Red and black will be seen all over the place. As I speak to you now, is the tribute being read by her husband, I must say, Ani Benti Enchel. In fact, he started reading his tribute, and a minute into the tribute, he broke down, and the late Eva Loco's daughter, Anadu Ni Benti, she had to take over and read the tribute on his behalf. So that is being done currently, and she has been talking about the fact that she was someone who had so much presence and was someone who, when she's at a program or at a place, you cannot help but notice her. Lots of talk about her time at the GBC and how she was asked to step aside. And later on, she fought that in court, and about 7 years later, got a high court ruling in her favor that indeed she was wrongfully suspended as the Director General of the GBC. So that tribute is still being read. In fact, when I arrived about an hour and a half ago, it was a filing past her remains, and that was done, and afterwards the coffin was subsequently closed. In terms of those present here at the event, it's more of a PPP event. The party's flag bearer, Dr. Papakusi Indum, is present in the company of his wife, Yvonne Indum, also present. The PPP executive is led by Ni Alote Hammond, all present here. The tribute is what they are dealing with, and now, as I spoke to you, as I mentioned earlier, that of the husband is what was being read now.
Thank you very much, Joseph Akable, reporting live from the forecourt of the State House, where the funeral of the late Eva Loco is currently ongoing. We'll be back shortly with the latest in business. Stay with us.